Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Touch of Class show, episode 13. I believe this is episode 13 on Friday, March 20th. I thought it was Friday the 13th for a second, and I've just got my days all mixed up. Friday the 13th was last Friday? Gotta get it together there. But it's a beautiful day outside. What a beautiful weekend. March Madness is on in the United States if you are a fan of basketball. It's one of the most electric tournaments of the year in any type of sport, and it's just absolutely incredible. You have to really drink all of it in to experience upsets, glory, Cinderella runs. It's fantastic. I highly recommend checking it out if you are not into college basketball, just because the storylines are phenomenal. Little shout out quickly, two shout outs. One, shout out to my boy Nate picking me up this Manchester United polo. Obviously, game later today, so had to get the fit ready for that. Another quick shout out to my mom, as it is her birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday to you, Mom. And the agenda for today. First, we'll go over the Champions League recap from this past week. We have all of the round of 16 now wrapped up as we head into the Champions League quarterfinals. It's hard to believe that we're already there, but man, what a week it was. Then we'll hop into some Premier League preview for an exciting upcoming weekend before an international break. The Carabao Cup Final as Arsenal take on Manchester City this Sunday. Things are going to get spicy with that one. Arteta looking to claim his second major trophy since taking charge of Arsenal, his first since the FA Cup all the way back in 2020. And finally, we will end things off with the Miami Masters 1000 Open preview. It's been a little delayed, as to no surprise, the weather in Miami has not been fantastic. It's been raining, and for that reason, we have seen some delays in the round of 28. So some of that action will be kicking off today, as well as the round of 64. But I hope everyone is having a fantastic Friday. Excited for the weekend. That's right, it's Friday, Molly. And let's get right into it with the Champions League recap. Now, starting with the Tuesday games, we have Sporting versus Bodo Glimt, and Sporting take this one 5-0. They pull off a miraculous comeback. They do the impossible, and it just leaves you stunned because as a fan, you see Bodo Glimt going on this incredible run, this Cinderella story of their own, like March Madness I had just described, if you will. And everyone's pulling for them. Everyone wants Bodo Glimt to go on that sort of 2019 Ajax run, and they looked poised to do it after taking a 3-0 lead at home. But sometimes when you do that, you get a bit overzealous in terms of your tactics, your defense. They did not play the way they normally play. They tried to defend their lead, and that's not Bodo Glimt football. Let's be honest. And Sporting took advantage. Goals from Inacio, Bote, Luis Suarez. No, not the Luis Suarez from Uruguay. The Luis Suarez, the young and improved Sporting striker. I believe he might also be from Uruguay, actually. Let me take a look. Let's take a quick peek. Luis Suarez. No, he's Colombian. Sorry. He is Colombian. He gets on the score sheet in the 70th minute. Araujo in the 92nd minute to give them the 4-3 lead on aggregate. It took all the way into extra time, and then Nell scores in the 120 minute +1 to really seal the deal for Sporting as they go through and they will face Arsenal in the quarterfinals. Exciting stuff. Speaking of Arsenal, Arsenal played Leverkusen, and going into this match, it was all square at 1-1. Arsenal scored 2 at home to defeat Leverkusen 3-1 on aggregate. And let's all just take a minute to appreciate that Eberechi Eze goal, because that was an absolutely stunning strike. A bit of magic from the young lad, and that is football. None of this corner crap that Arsenal like to produce. Moments of magic like that are why we love football. And it was so refreshing from Eze to see a goal like that go in. Huge shout out to him. That was absolutely fantastic. I think he's an unbelievable footballer. I think he's going to have a big impact this weekend, but we'll get into that a bit later. Declan Rice seals it in the 63rd minute with a nice finish of his own as Arsenal advance into the quarterfinals, and as I said, play Sporting. Next, we have PSG versus Chelsea. And man, things have just gone bad for Chelsea. Super unfortunate for them. Just a poor showing in the Champions League. I'd hate to be a Chelsea fan right now. Had to slip that pun in there. 8-2 on aggregate for PSG against the two-time Champions League winners themselves, Chelsea, but it's the defending champs who just absolutely thrash their way through London. Goal scored by Kvaratskhelia in the 6th minute, Barcola in the 15th minute, who actually went on to hit the Thierry Henry celebration at Stamford Bridge. I mean, that's iconic. To be able to have that level of shithousery is such an incredible thing to see. That's football heritage, as Jose Mourinho would say. And Mayulu scores in the 67th minute, or 62nd minute, I should say, to really just put the cherry on top of that cake. Embarrassing from Chelsea. They have so many issues right now. There's already rumblings that Liam Rosier might get sacked, which is just ridiculous. I mean, the guy hasn't even had a transfer window to get in players that he wants. That's the problem with Chelsea right now. They're just giving their manager something and forcing him to work with that. It's like giving him a piece of really shitty clay and he's supposed to mold it into something beautiful. Well, what if he wants to throw some water on it, on the wheel, get it really active, not working with this dry piece of clay? But no, he is not afforded that luxury, and it looks like he could be heading out the door. Would be interesting stuff if they do sack him this summer, as there are a lot of managers poised to take positions at new clubs. In the Premier League, actually. PSG will then face Liverpool in this next round, and that is going to be scary for Liverpool. But now moving on to Manchester City versus Real Madrid. Madrid win it 2-1 in Manchester. Bernardo Silva gets a silly red card in the 20th minute, and from there the tie was just killed off. It really had no bite in it. I personally thought that this was going to be a heroic comeback for Manchester City. It wasn't. It wasn't even close to that. Then he slots away the penalty from the red card from Bernardo Silva in the 22nd minute. Haaland scores to level it in the 41st, but again, it's just too little too late for City. Vinny nets another one in the 90th minute plus 3 minutes, and it's Madrid who win 5-1 on aggregate and see themselves through into the next round of the Champions League, where they face Bayern Munich. No easy task there, as we'll get into Bayern and how they absolutely dismantled Atalanta. But next, we have Barcelona versus Newcastle at the Camp Nou. The first half of this match was incredible. The game ended 7-2, but that first half was so special. It was free-flowing attacking football from both sides. Newcastle were on the attack at the Camp Nou, and they looked stunning. They looked great. Rafinha scores for Barcelona in the 6th minute. Alanga then levels it in the 15th minute, and you think, all right, maybe Newcastle got some nuts and bolts here. Bernal then scores in the 18th minute for Barca to retake that lead. But it's that man, Anthony Alanga, yet again, who scores in the 28th minute to level it at 2 apiece in the first half. It looks like it's going to be tied going into halftime up until Kieran Trippier makes a horrendous mistake, loses his man at the back post. I believe it was Rafinha, and he just grabs his arm and causes a penalty in the 45th minute plus stoppage time. Lamine Yamal steps up, scores, and puts Barca up 3-2 at the half. Quick little nerd nugget from this game. There's only been 3 people in all of Champions League history to score 2 goals or more in a knockout stage at the Camp Nou. It is Puskás, legend from Hungary, Kylian Mbappe, the French legend, already a legend, yes, because he's won a World Cup and he's won many other things. He's an incredible footballer. And now Anthony Alanga. What a list to be in if you are Alanga. Incredible stuff from him. He deserves his flowers. But it's Barcelona who pull away in that second half with goals from Fermin Lopez in the 51st minute. Lewandowski grabbed 2 in the 56th and the 61st. And Rafinha finishes it off in the 72nd minute. 7-2 in this game. 8-3 on aggregate. Just horrific scenes if you're a Newcastle fan. You have so much hope in that first half, and it's just all stripped away pretty quickly in that second half, if we're going to be honest. Barca move on to face Atletico Madrid in an all-La Liga showdown in the quarterfinals. Next match, we have Bayern Munich versus Atalanta. The German Giants versus the Italian club, and this tie was over before this second game even started. Bayern were up 6-1 on aggregate. They didn't even have a starting goalkeeper at the start of this week to go into the game, but they said, whatever, we'll throw in, I believe it's their third choice goalie who currently has a head injury. He might be concussed. That's how confident they were. Kane kicked off the scoring in the 25th minute, and then again in the 54th minute, scores again with one of the goals of the tournament. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Just look up Harry Kane goal versus Atalanta, and this is just, it's pure magic. It's incredible skill. He has the ball at the top of the box, and he drags it back, splits 2 defenders, and rifles it into the top corner, beating the Atalanta goalie, leaving him no chance. It's just beautiful football. So genius of him. Then Lennart Karl scores in the 56th with Luis Diaz sealing it in the 70th minute. Smarjic for Atalanta scores in the 85th minute. Another consolation goal. That's 2 late consolation goals for Atalanta. At least giving their fans something to cheer about and look at. But 10-2 on aggregate is absolutely devastating in this tie. Atalanta didn't stand a chance, and I'm not going to lie, Real Madrid should be a little bit fearful, maybe a lot of bit fearful of this Bayern Munich team because they are absolutely rolling. They score a lot of goals, and they don't give up many. Next match, we have Liverpool versus Galatasaray. Liverpool thrash past Galatasaray 4-0. Not a result that I would have expected. I thought this was going to be a lot closer, but I guess when you're Liverpool at home and you score that one against Galatasaray, it draws them out. They got to start playing attacking football. They can no longer really sit back as they had that 1-0 lead. And from there, the tie just went south for the Turkish side. Slobosai scored in the 25th minute, followed by Ekitike in the 51st, Gravenberch in the 53rd, and Salah in the 62nd minute to make it 4-1 on aggregate for Liverpool. Salah also missing a penalty in this match. Interesting stuff there. But it's Liverpool who ultimately go through to the next round and will face PSG in that showdown. Incredible stuff. Really is. I think PSG edge them out there, but Liverpool got a chance. They aren't consistent by any means, but when they aren't starting Cody Gakpo, they've got a chance. In the final Champions League tie, Tottenham Hotspurs versus Atletico Madrid. And if you're a Tottenham fan, the only thing you got to look at is at least we got to win. Tottenham win it 3-2 at their home stadium. It didn't really matter. This tie was over before it started. Atletico Madrid end up winning this, 7-5 on aggregate. Not the worst showing. There were definitely worse ties, but it was over in North London before this game started. Kolo Muani scored in the 30th minute. Julian Alvarez then ties it for Atletico in the 47th. Xavi Simons scores in the 52nd. I believe that's his first goal in about 2 months for Tottenham, which is just why they've been so bad. You need your star players to show up if you're going to be winning games in any competition. Then Hanko scores in the 75th for Atletico Madrid, making it 2-2 on aggregate. And Xavi Simons in the 90th minute with a penalty scores to make it 3-2 and at least give Tottenham fans a little bit of rejoice at their home stadium. But they are in shambles. This is a season from hell for them. And it's not looking great in the Premier League either, to be honest. That is your Champions League recap set, though. We've got our quarterfinal matchups of Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich, Liverpool versus PSG, Atletico versus Barca, and Sporting versus Arsenal. Incredible stuff coming our way in Champions League football. But now we head to the Premier League preview. Today at 3 p.m., we have my team, Manchester United, facing off against Bournemouth. And Manchester United are desperate for all 3 points today. Dire need of a win. I expect United to play well considering we will be off for 25 days straight. We don't play again until, I believe, April 11th, something like that, which is so much time. I mean, you have the international break coming up for these next 2 weeks. And then out of the international break, instead of going right back to league play, for some reason, you have the FA Cup quarterfinal weekend. Now, I get it. Look, the FA Cup is incredible. It's lost its draw a little bit, in my opinion, just because it doesn't have that magic of the lower teams advancing anymore. And the Carabao Cup kind of takes a little bit of draw away from the FA Cup, as there are 2 domestic cups. So, what's really the point? But I digress. Back to United versus Bournemouth. I expect United to play well. I hope they play well. For that reason, give me United to win 2-1 later today at 3 p.m. or was it 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? I'm going to have to double check on the timing there. Tomorrow morning, early, we have Brighton versus Liverpool. Liverpool currently sitting 1 point above Chelsea in the Premier League table in 5th place as they look to stay in terms of Champions League qualification. Big game for Liverpool. But for that reason, they're traveling down to the south coast of Brighton. I like Brighton to nick a point here. I got to be honest. Give me a 1-1 draw and the 2 of them split the points. Next, we have Fulham versus Burnley. Fulham can go to the top half of the table if the result goes their way with this win. Burnley's hopes of staying up have all but diminished. They're basically playing for pride at this point. They don't really stand a chance. I think they're 9 points below 17th with 8 games to spare. Anything's possible, but just going off of results from this season, they don't stand a chance. Unfortunately for the Turf Moor, it will be back in the championship next season. And because they are playing away at Craven Cottage and they are feeling down as the threat of relegation is looming, give me Fulham to win 2-0, taking full advantage of the Clarets. Next, we have Everton versus Chelsea. Chelsea are currently sat in 6th place Again, this is why Liam Rosier's job is in check, but you're giving him a squad and you're not giving him any new pieces to work with. It's going to be tough for him. They could be heading in a dark direction this season, though, and they are knocked out of the Champions League. They're sat in sixth, and they just got a ruling from the Premier League where they were fined £10.7 million, the largest fine any Premier League club has ever been given. And they will receive a 1-year transfer ban and a 9-month academy ban where they are not able to sign other academy players, which is very damaging to the Chelsea brand. Now, I believe this transfer ban is suspended, so it won't take place this summer. But when it does, Chelsea are in big, big trouble. Definitely not what you want to hear. If you're a Chelsea fan, this doesn't even relate to the 74 charges outstanding against them from the FA. And if this is what happened for their Premier League breaches back from under Roman Abramovich for some shady payments for the likes of Eden Hazard, Willian, Diego Costa, players of that such, then I can't imagine what's going to happen when the FA have their ruling. Dark times for Chelsea, potentially dark times. Despite all that, Everton are absolutely terrible at home, and Chelsea need to pick themselves up after that Champions League loss and embarrassed by PSG. Give me Chelsea to win 3-1 this weekend to get themselves back on track in the Premier League. Next, we have Leeds versus Brentford, and Brentford are fighting for Europe. The team that has never seen European nights could potentially be hosting Europa League conference games next season if the cards fall right and they keep picking up points. And to do so, they're going to have to go to Ellen Road, which is not an easy place to go if you want to pick up 3 points. But with Brentford's fighting spirit, the form they're in, Kevin Schad, Igor Thiago, some of these players are just playing magnificent football this season for them. Give me Brentford to edge out a win 1-0 versus Leeds. Next, we have the first Tuneware derby between Newcastle and Sunderland at St. James Park, where both sides are Premier League opponents in 10 years. If that made sense, awesome. If it didn't, you're going to have to deal with it because I cannot say that again. Everything got mixed up, and my brain feels scrambled after just reading that. But Newcastle face off against Sunderland at St. James Park. They're looking to bounce back after that horrific showing in the Champions League. 1-1 at St. James Park, but then 7-2 at the Camp Nou. Really tough scenes for them. Sunderland not getting as many players back from injury as we had initially thought. They were poised to get maybe 5 players back from injury, but I think a few of them are going to sit out a little bit longer as they look to really recover for this late stretch of the Premier League season. I think Newcastle need this bounce back. Give me Newcastle to win 2-1 at home. Next, we have Villa versus West Ham, and this game is going to be tasty. Let me tell you, fear not, as we have some exciting Premier League match action here in the Midlands at Aston Villa Stadium. I forget what their stadium's called at the moment. But it's Villa, who are currently sat 4th and trying to lock up Champions League football, facing off the dire West Ham team looking to just stay above the relegation zone. They've been in a relegation scrap for the whole second half of this season so far. And teams that are desperate are always harder to play. It's going to be a tough match for both sides. West Ham are well and truly alive at the bottom of that table as they sit level on points with Nottingham Forest and 1 point below Spurs, who actually play each other. We'll be previewing that match next. But it's Villa. They need Champions League football. They need this win. They need to get back on track. So give me the Villains to win 1-0 at home. And the final match of this Premier League weekend, Tottenham versus Nottingham Forest. A real relegation battle Not something you'd expect to hear with the Tottenham Hotspurs this season, but it is well and truly a relegation battle as the loser just has the drop zone looming over their head, and it's going to be dark times for whichever club loses this match. Tottenham are in a terrible downward spiral at the moment, obviously just getting absolutely pumped by Atletico Madrid. They need to catch themselves. Somehow Igor Thiago is still in a job. But despite all of those terrible things that are going on for Tottenham, I like them to get a win. I don't think them going down is going to be as black and white as we think. I think there's going to be a little bit of a shakeup. Give me the Spurs to win 2-1 at home. Next, we move on to the Carabao Cup Final. This Sunday, Arsenal take on Manchester City in what is the first major trophy given out this season. Arsenal searching for their second major trophy under Arteta, the first since that FA Cup back in 2020 when they still had the likes of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Lacazette on that team. What a team that was, and what a team it has become. Many changes from the last 6 years have got them into a final yet again as they look to lock up some silverware. City obviously just got bounced from the Champions League by Real Madrid. They know all about the Carabao Cup. They've won this trophy many times. I believe they've won it 4 times in a row at one point under Pep. This was just their trophy. They won it every year. And I think Arsenal finally end this trophy drought. I really do. I think that they lock up their second trophy under Arteta, their first one of the year. They go ahead and beat Manchester City 2-1 on a late winner from none other than Gabriel from a corner kick. Just the most picturesque way for Arsenal to win the Carabao Cup. It would just make sense. And that's what I think is going to happen. Arsenal taking home a bit of silverware. Early congratulations for them. Might be a little bit of a jinx, but who knows? That wraps up everything football related, from the Champions League recap to the Premier League preview and Carabao Cup final preview. We now move on to tennis. And tennis is in Miami this week for the Miami Masters 1000. There's been a bit of rain on the radar, and it's causing some major delays. Rain in Miami, Florida? What a shocker. I feel like they should be putting some indoor courts in Miami just for cases like this. We'll see. The round of 64 matches that are set, though, are intriguing, to say the least. We have Jack Draper facing off versus O'Reilly Opelka. We have Sasha Bublik facing off against Berrettini. We have the 17-year-old sensation Moise Kwame, who is facing off against Yuri Lehechka. That is going to be a stunning match, one that I 100% have to watch. 17-year-old Moise Kwame looking to make a name for himself. His first Masters event, he secured his first Masters win, I believe it was yesterday. He was on the presser after the match saying how Novak Djokovic texted him. This kid is special. Remember the name Moise Kwame. He is going to be an absolutely incredible tennis player. Super excited for what he has to come. We also have De Minaur facing off against Tsitsipas. An interesting matchup for De Minaur. Definitely wouldn't want to be playing at Tsitsipas in the first round. Anything can happen. Then an absolute firecracker as we have Carlos Alcaraz facing off versus João Fonseca. And João Fonseca is facing the number 1 and number 2 in the world in back-to-back tournaments. Really special for him, to be honest. He even said it in an interview yesterday. He's just excited to play against the two best, because why wouldn't you want to play against the best players and see how your game stacks up? That's going to be absolutely electric. I cannot wait for that. I'm interested to see how he plays against Alcaraz compared to how he played against Sinner, because he did take Sinner to 2 tiebreaks despite losing in straight sets. So Fonseca versus Alvarez, I expect fireworks in that match. We also have Nori versus Mikkelsen, Sinner versus Zumher from Bosnia. I'm really not sure how to pronounce that. Probably butchered it. That's all right. Some of the tennis names are hard to pronounce, like this next one. Mazurzak playing Lerner Tien. We're still waiting for some opponents for Ben Shelton, Daniil Medvedev, Felix Auger Aliassime, Francis Tiafoe, Rinderknecht, Jakub Mensik, as well as some others. The Miami Open looking to get underway later today, actually. The round of 64 starts, I want to say at noon, maybe 1 p.m., because they have to get matches in early. Let's take a look when those round of 64 matches are getting started. The first round of 64 match will be at noon. Casper Ruud versus Ethan Quinn. Ethan Quinn looking to pull off a massive upset on Casper Ruud. It's possible. It's extremely possible. These Miami courts are a lot faster than those Indian Well courts, and Casper Ruud does not show up well when the courts are fast. That's just everything that I have for the Miami Open. Nothing too crazy. We have a lot of matches coming up. I'm going to be diagnosing them on Monday, round of 64, as well as the round of 32. Another exciting Masters as we head into the clay season after this Miami Open is finished. The Sunshine Double looks to be wrapped up by next Sunday, I believe, weather permitting. Exciting stuff for tennis. Well, that's everything that I have for the show today. I really hope every one of you enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe. Comment who you think is going to win the Miami Open, some predictions for the Premier League, and who your Carabao Cup final winner is going to be. Will Arsenal be lifting their first trophy in 6 years under Arteta? Or will City just grab another Carabao Cup to add to their resume? I've got an Arsenal video coming out maybe this weekend, maybe Monday, actually. It's going to be a very interesting topic. Arsenal, can they win the Premier League this year? And if they win that Carabao Cup, they would be looking to get 2 trophies this season, a massive improvement from Arteta's squad over the past couple years where they have been Bottle FC, if we're just going to be honest. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.